Just like that, another major is done. The 2026 PGA Championship has crowned a winner. It is Aaron Rai, and I'm joined here, Dexter Henry, with my guy, Curran Bhatia, fantastic golf analyst. You've seen him a bunch of places. He's been on Netflix, ESPN, and we know this man loves the sport of golf, which is why he's with me here in studio to talk about the PGA Championship. How you doing, my friend? How's it going?
Great to see you, Dexter. Yeah. It's a great day in the world of golf. It's always fun when we have the majors, right? We get the best competing against the best. Dare I say, the best discussing with the best, right? Can we give ourselves a little bit of accolades here?
I like to always think of myself in that
way.
There
you go. Exactly. We were talking about positive thinking, right, for our New York Knicks, so we can have some positive thinking also just about our conversations. So,
absolutely. Now, look, Curran, this was a interesting PGA Championship because a lot of movement, I would say, over the 4 days that we saw here. Aaron Rai becomes the first Englishman to win this tournament in 107 years. Yep. So when you look at the way he navigated this tournament this weekend, how he played and was able to get it done, what stood out to you most about, I'll ask two things, his composure, also his discipline that we saw here, and being able to get this done under pressure. What stood out to you most about Aaron Rai and how he was able to capture the championship?
Absolutely. So Aaron Rai is now the champion of the PGA Championship, the 108th edition. It's an incredible feat. Let me say this, Dexter. I think there's going to be a lot of people going out to buy a second glove and maybe some iron covers, right? And that actually speaks to who Aaron Rai is. So Aaron Rai, he grew up in very humble beginnings. And when you see something like iron covers, for example, right? This is not generally done for pro golfers. The reason Aaron Rai does this is because he came from humble beginnings. So his clubs, keeping them clean, he's not going to get a new set, right? And so it was very important for him these clubs were sacred to him at a young age. And then the second glove, he started playing at an early age. It was cold. He had a second glove. He got used to it. And that speaks to, those humble beginnings speak to who Aaron Rai is. And that actually manifested itself on this Sunday at the PGA Championship. And the biggest moment, I think, was in the 17th hole, the par 3. Aaron Rai has the long putt, and he has a chance to lock down the tournament. And if you see this putt, it's going. It looks like it's going to go in. Everybody watching at home, everybody at Aronimink is losing their minds. Aaron Rai, as cool as can be. It was almost like he was like, all right, I guess I should fist pump right now. But you could see, looking at him, he had that Kobe, that mindset, that Mamba mentality. Job's not finished. I still got one more hole. And I think that just speaks to who Aaron Rai is as a competitor. And so those humble beginnings really, really manifested themselves on this Sunday. And I'll point out one other hole that I think was particularly interesting, Dexter. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of talk about the par 3 17th, right? Yeah. That long putt. That's the one that really sealed the deal. But before that, the 14th hole was the 13th hole. The 13th hole. Yep. Yeah, was a par 4. It was a 299-yard hole. It was drivable for many. Aaron Rai isn't the longest hitter, and he actually hit it into the bunker. So you're thinking, okay, wait a minute, this tournament might get away from him a little bit. In the bunker, he hit a very tricky shot. He had to get that shot close, and he actually ended up making birdie. So I think that was a moment of resilience for Aaron Rai, right? And I think that's probably going to be lost in what happened in 17, but I think that shows the resilience needed for a workhorse golfer like Aaron Rai.
Well, it's a great point, because if he doesn't do that on 13, then who knows how things could go. Maybe he crumbles. I'm not saying that he would, but maybe that happens and there's no chance for some of the magic that we saw on 17. Now, when you talk about this tournament here in 2026, you got to talk about Jon Rahm.
Yes.
Because he was close. He was 3 shots behind, finished behind Aaron Rai on the day. How close do you think Rahm was to actually taking control of this tournament? Could have been, a lot could have changed with what happened on 13, like you said there, before you get to 17. And what moments do you think didn't work out for Rahm that swung things back in Rai's favor?
This was a huge tournament and moment for Jon Rahm. Jon Rahm, of course, was the former world #1 and made the jump to LIV. Now, we know the latest news about LIV Golf. It seems like it's crumbling a little bit, right? The PIF Saudi funding has been pulled for next season, which means they're looking for alternative funding. So we don't know the future of LIV Golf. So what that means for superstars like Bryson DeChambeau, Jon Rahm that are on the LIV Tour, they may have to work their way back to the PGA Tour. And so what is one one way that you can really work your way back. Make yourself into an attraction by winning majors. So the stakes were extremely high for Jon Rahm. And you could see that in the way he played. He came out motivated. He came out ready. He ended up tying for second place. So he was right there. This wasn't a layup for Aaron Rai. He had some of the best players in the world looking to catch him. So I think overall for Jon Rahm, what he can look at is say, hey, even though I've been on the LIV Tour and the competition is not necessarily the same as what it is on the PGA Tour, I'm still right there in terms of that major championship level, in terms of the best playing the best. And so I think for Jon Rahm, it's a great Sunday for him. Obviously, he would have liked to come up on top, but I think it's a good momentum builder as he looks to have success in the majors, finish off on LIV, and then we'll see what the future holds. Hopefully, it's a return of some of the best players in the world back to the PGA Tour. So on Sundays, we can see the best taking on the best, just like we did this Sunday at the PGA Championship.
That's what the fans want to see.
Exactly.
Now, listen, in this tournament, there was some of the best that you had seen that still also came short beside Jon Rahm, right? We saw Xander Schauffele. We saw Scotty Scheffler. We saw Rory McIlroy. We saw all those guys moving about the leaderboard. Obviously, they all didn't finish at the top. That went to Aaron Rai. But when you see guys hanging around the leaderboard like that, and then they don't win, sometimes a guy can play, to what your point with Rahm, they can come out of the tournament saying, I feel good about this, or I feel good about a couple of things that happened. Who do you think among that group comes out of this tournament still feeling, okay, this was a good one for me, and there are things I can build on here?
I think the names that you just pointed out, they're not even just guys. These are legends, right? These are modern legends of the game. Yeah. And so I think all of them are going to be unsatisfied with not taking home the win, because Rory McIlroy, Xander Schauffele, Scotty Scheffler, these are the names that you just mentioned. Of course, these are multi-time major winners. And you know that they were major hunting in this big event, right? Because it seemed like this event was for the taking, right? There were so many players within a few strokes when Sunday started. Aaron Rai obviously was able to separate himself from the pack just through some of the holes that we highlighted here. But I think all of them are going to be enthused by their play, that the fact that they were in the mix, but ultimately disappointed because these are players who have gotten it done before. Aaron Rai has had 8 wins as a professional, never had a major championship win. So for him, this was about getting over the hump. For those modern legends of the game, those top players that we're talking about, Rory, Scotty, and Xander, you know that getting another major was on their mind. So I think they're going to be enthused. If you talk to Rory after his round, he actually sat down with CBS. They said, what went wrong, what went right? He said, I was playing pretty well, but I wasn't able to execute on those par fives and get those scores under par that I really needed to. And so it was almost like doing a lot there, but not enough to get there. And so we know that Rory's going to be back in a couple weeks. He said he's going to be back at the Memorial, and I'm sure he's going to be competing. Xander, Scotty, I think the biggest thing in golf, and Dexter, you know this as a golfer yourself, you want to be fully right, or as close to as right as you can be. For example, Justin Thomas, who's been a top player for a long time, he had back surgery last November. He was actually leading at one point in this tournament. So health is so important. And the fact that these guys are active and they're playing, I think that goes back to the point we just talked about. We want to see the best playing the best. So some of the best golfers in the world being active, being on that leaderboard is exciting for fans. It's good to see. And I think just to go back to Aaron Rai for 1 second, I think that really just puts another emphatic exclamation point on what he did, because it wasn't against a subpar field. It was against some of the best players in the world, the best players of this era that he had to hold off, and he was able to do so successfully. And
so that kind of transitions to, I think, where it's good for us to end, because you just mentioned Aaron Rai does this against some of the best players in the world. Yeah. He wins his first major title, which is obviously huge for him. But I wonder here, does that winning the major title for him, his first one, does that change the way the golf world now will view him, right? Because some people may say, that's a one-off. Is it? Or is this something where you look at this for Aaron Rai that he can build on from this and become a consistent major factor, shall you say, in the sport of golf? What do you say?
Winning the PGA Championship for Aaron Rai is nothing short of life-changing. This is one of the biggest moments of his life, the biggest moment of his professional career, and that really can't be understated. And I think now the sky's the limit for Aaron Rai. He's only 31 years old, and so there's huge potential ahead. He's not the loudest player. He doesn't hit the ball the farthest, but you know what he is? He's clutch. He's reliable. And I keep going back to that moment on 17 when he sunk that putt. If you look at him, he was completely stone-faced, right? Job's not finished. I have more work to do. And I think that's how Aaron Rai is going to approach the rest of his career, right? Okay, I got a major. Great. Job's not finished, right? I got a lot more to do. I got a lot more majors to win. And so I think if you look at the humble beginnings that we talk about, that usually lends itself to a hardworking player. And that is the case for Aaron Rai, a grinder, right? And so I expect to see that. And the fact that he did it at Aronimink, at the PGA Championship, Tiger Woods was asked about this course, and he had one word. He said diabolical. That was the way Tiger Woods described it. And so Aaron Rai was able to take on this diabolical course, one of the best fields that we've seen in terms of active modern players, the best of this era that are actually breathing down his neck, and he came up clutch when he needed to, right? He had some huge moments, and we talked about the par 4 13th where he really had to dig deep in that bunker shot. We spoke about the 17th hole. So Aaron Rai really had to go back to those roots of that, you know, that hardworking kid who couldn't afford college, had to become a professional, had to, you know, keep the one set of clubs he had clean, had to, you know, learn to play a different way, do it his way, and really be that hard worker. And I think all of that really came together and culminated with this amazing win. So to answer your question, I think sky's the limit now for Aaron Rai, and I think you're going to see his name pop up on a lot of these leaderboards. And to close it out, Dexter, you're a golfer, you know how mental this game is, right? And to get over that hump, especially at a major championship, right? Remember, he had only had 8 wins as a professional before this. So to get that major championship under the belt, I think golf world, watch out. I think Aaron Rai is going to put himself in the mix.
And no doubt about it, can absolutely do wonders for his confidence. Aaron Rai winning the 108th edition of it. He is the first Englishman to win it in 107 years. He did it at Aronimink. Tough course, diabolical, according to the great Tiger Woods, but he was able to get it done. That is Curran Bhatia. Check him out. Fantastic golf analyst. You see him in multiple places doing great work. And anytime Curran comes in the studio with me, we know we're always going to have a good conversation. Appreciate you, my friend. Thank you.
Appreciate you. Let's get out on the golf course soon. I don't want to play a course that's labeled as diabolical, though. So let's find a course that's a little bit more friendly, a little bit more fun. We can channel our inner Aaron Rai out there. But great to talk with you. And hopefully let's get on the link soon.
Yeah, got to do that soon.